Hey y'all, Sean here, back again with another edition of Game On Cards and Collectibles. Last week, a fellow content creator, Cardboard and Plastic, want to give him a shout out for doing a video about his 10 cards that changed his way of collecting, or his 10 card evolution of collecting, and it really inspired me to do something similar. So again, I want to give this credit to that channel, and wanted to show you guys kind of my evolution of collecting and why I have the type of cards that I do. So let's jump in and show you. So I'm going to do this in chronological order. So first up is going to be 1987 Topps Ryan Sandberg. This card is important to me because it represents or symbolizes the first year that I began collecting. As a kid, we would get our allowance. We'd go down to the card shop, the LCS that was in the neighborhood, and pick up packs and what have you. And I was just kind of discovering baseball and the Cubs on WGN. And 1987 was an important year for the Cubs. Andre Dawson won the MVP that year, but it was my first exposure to the Cubs really and collecting. So although this card isn't from my initial collection, I picked it up fairly inexpensive quite a while ago because it does kind of symbolize that first year of collecting. All right, next up is going to be a 1963 Topps Power Plus Ernie Banks Hank Aaron card number 242. So this was my next step in collecting, and really what it did is this card is important to me because my uncle gifted it to me. I've said this when I had it graded, and if you've watched my channel before, you may have heard this already. But my uncle gave this to me, and what he did is he knew that I was getting into cards, and he took he showed me his collection from when he was a kid, and all his vintage cards. And as a young kid myself, I kind of really kind of got exposed the first time to vintage and how important baseball is to to individuals, and sharing that nostalgia with him. And then in return, he gave me a card to kind of remember that moment by. So very cool card. And I'm glad to have it in my collection. This is one of those that'll always be there, always be in my collection. So that was the second one. All right, next up is the 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. Got to have one of these. You can't tell the story of card collecting without having this card in there. My experience with this card in particular is I was buying 89 Upper Deck packs all the time at the LCS. Could never, every week I'd go in, spend my, few dollars or whatever on a couple packs. Could never pull one. Supposedly it's an SP, although, short prints back then were not very short printed. So, never could pull one. So I asked for one for Christmas. So I believe it was, if I remember correctly, the summer of 1990. I asked my dad if I could get one of these for Christmas, and they scoured the countryside to try to find one at a card shop. And this is actually the card. So this is the original card from that 1990 Christmas. So very cool, important card to my collection as well. Next up, now this is going to take us to 2012. This is when I got back into the hobby. Alshon Jeffrey, from the Chicago Bears, he was my favorite team. A rookie at the time that I was interested in collecting. Didn't know a lot about the hobby's do's and don'ts. Didn't really. There wasn't a lot of research available outside of some forums and things. But I just thought, hey, like fantasy football, I can go ahead and pick up some of these autographs of these players early on. Maybe before anyone else does, and then as soon as they do well, they'll be valuable. And it doesn't work that easy. So, but when I picked this up, I'm not sure necessarily if this is the first Alshon Jeffrey card I got that year, but this is one of the earlier ones. This is an autograph, one of the first autographs I got anyway of Alshon for my PC. But this collection here I'm about to show you is multi-phased. First of all, it's one of the first autographs I got in 2012 of Alshon Jeffrey, who then went on to be one of my highly collected players for my PC. But also, many years later, actually recently, I picked up the inscriptions version, which says "Great Hands," has his auto. You can see how he's changed his auto a couple times. This is kind of a long form auto, and this one here is just kind of his initials, AJ. Great hands, but also throughout the into 2012 when I picked this one up, I think it was summer of 12. I then proceeded over the next year to pick up the rest of the rainbow, which I believe this was one of the first rainbow collections that I did. So you've got the blue here, numbered to 50, the copper, I think it's called, numbered to 25, the green, numbered to 15, and the red, also numbered to 15. So weird collation there of the serial numbers, but that was an important piece in my collection for a multitude of reasons, mainly the auto of my player PC. Much later on in my collecting journey, the inscription, which now I'm a big fan of inscriptions, and then the rainbow. So that's that one. To take us to just about a year after I started collecting, and from 2012 into 2013. We've got a 1987 Topps Walter Payton 1,000-yard club. Collected a lot of these back in my first chapter of my collecting. Walter Payton's my favorite athlete of all time. And in 2013, I made the decision to start collecting all of his playing year cards in a PSA 9. 9 being that the 10s are much more expensive, and I'm really not interested in as much in the grade, although I do want it well centered and looking nice. So there's not a big difference between a 9 and a 10 visually. But also, that was my first attempt at putting together the set. Here we are, basically 10, 11 years later, still trying to finish that set. I pick up a Walter Payton PSA 9 from time to time. I always, when I go to the show, that's the first thing. When I go to a card show, the first thing I look for is a Walter Payton and a PSA 9 from his playing years, which are from 76 to 88, technically, if you want to count the following year of his playing year. So those are the years that he played. Those are the, some of the cards I'm checking off my list as I go. Not in a big hurry, but I do kind of love the journey that I'm taking here with the Walter Payton. All right, next up, probably around the same time, maybe a year or so later. I'm gonna say 2014-ish. I think summer of 14 is when I picked up one of my first or my most memorable non-sport cards. This is the 2013 Topps Allen and Ginter Ed O'Neill mini frame. This card is the autograph version. I don't know how many of these are made. This is not serial numbered. And if you've seen my channel recently, you'll know I just got this graded, and I had it for 10 years. Didn't really want to grade it because there's a lot of surface scratches, and I knew it would come back bad. I just didn't want to see it in a bad low grade because it would just take away from it. But I decided to send it in anyway. I can't believe it gemmed. That was definitely a surprise, and a surprise in a good way. So one of my first non-sport cards, autograph versions anyway, of a PC card there. All right. Now let's move into, I think we're going to jump from 2014-ish all the way to 2020. This is a 1982 Topps Joe Delaney All-Pro. If you don't know the story of Joe Delaney, I definitely recommend looking him up. There was a 30 for 30 or a 60 for 60, one of those ESPN documentaries about him and his story uh, honorable and heroic effort. And as soon as I watched that video, I went on to see if he had any cards, and I picked this up. So definitely one I'm going to always keep in the PC. I'm not going to spoil the story for you, but I definitely would recommend checking it out. Next, we're moving into 2021. I play a lot of tennis. I've played tennis for many years. Really hasn't been any tennis cards. But in 2018, Upper Deck did a Goodwins and Champion rookie, essentially, of Frances Tiafoe, and they did several different cards of his when he was an amateur. Not an amateur, I guess he was pro, but before he was really as popular as he is now. So I did not get this in 2018. Matter of fact, by 2020, I really didn't know that there was any tennis cards outside of the old Net Pro cards from 2003 and older. But yeah, there have been tennis cards. They're just not quite as well known. But as soon as I started watching him, following him, his career, I said, I got to see if he's got any cards. And I picked up a bunch of them, different ones. They were fairly inexpensive at the time. They've all gone up quite a bit in value over the years, and I have sold off some of them. But I am a big fan of Frances Tiafoe, and definitely want to keep this one in my collection. This is probably one of his best ones. He does have one that's inscribed as well that I would love to have, but much too expensive for me to pick up. So very nice card about, my tennis and following tennis and one of the players that I collect. Next, we have the 2020 Topps Chrome X-Fractor Nico Horner in a tag slab. This has got a couple reasons, a couple different things about it. Number one is this card I sent in 2022 to tag because I wanted to try them out as one of their early adopters. They had a program or a discounted rate for some of the early entries, and so I sent in a bunch of cards. This is one of my favorite of that particular batch of submission. So not only is Nico a player PC of mine, but also it kind of opened my eyes to tag slabs and really how they are as advertised and how cool these slabs are and how nice they are, especially on newer shiny cards. So that was an important aspect of my collecting as well, as just opening my eyes to other alternatives for grading and just seeing how nice those cards are. Next up, similar story. We're moving into 2023 now. This is going to be the 2021 Topps Chrome Gold Refractor Grigor Dimitrov in a Tag 10, Gem 10. This was really the introduction in the summer of 2023. Although it says 2021, these cards didn't come out until 2023. There was a 2-year delay on these Topps Chrome Tennis, but this is the first, I would say, modern refractor-like or chromium-based product from tennis in a significant brand. And being that I play tennis, I like to slice the ball like Grigor does. I also do a one-handed backhand. So some things that are a little unorthodox that Grigor does, I can relate with. And I made the decision a long time ago that he was going to be one of my favorite tennis players that I would follow every tournament. So that's the Grigor. And then from that was 2023. So this year I'm putting this card in. And the significance of this Alshon, this is a rookie printing plate auto. It's not so much the card itself, and it's more of what it represents, as many of these cards do. This was a card that I picked up through Instagram. Person that I follow on Instagram that has a lot of Chicago sports related. Reached out to him and wanted to know, if we could work out a deal. So this represents me kind of taking another step into the hobby and reaching out to fellow Instagram or fellow social media people who share common interests in the sports card hobby. And this is an important card for that reason. So those are the cards that kind of represent my collecting journey and the different ways that I collect. So I appreciate y'all spending some time with me today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. Appreciate the support, and we'll see you again here real soon. Take care, everybody.